Hey, I'm Justin Parkin.
I'm Sam Staten.
I'm Sam Taylor.
I'm Walt Washburn, and our FEDD project was the Concrete Canoe.
Our group knew going into our project we would be following along the design process. The first step in the design process is to ask questions and do research.
When we received our assignment, the first thing our group did was determine what the goals and restraints for our project were. Restraints are rules, guidelines, or restrictions on the design process that provide direction during planning and creation.
In order to better understand these restraints and our goal, we created this infographic to visualize what we needed to accomplish and what we needed to keep in mind while designing our canoe.
As you can see here, our goal for our canoe is to hold as much as possible without sinking. Our restraints included size restrictions, our budget, and materials we could choose.
Our next step we took was to research how things float and how concrete works. Flotation is based around Archimedes' principle, which states that an object receives a buoyant force equal to the weight of the water it displaces. We also did research on different aspects of concrete qualities during curing and after curing.
Here we have an illustrated demonstration of how Archimedes' principle works. There is a 7-pound weight that displaces 3 pounds of water, making its net weight while submerged in water 4 pounds.
The next step of the design process is to imagine or brainstorm. During a brainstorming session, members of our group threw out and wrote down any ideas that popped into our heads. A key point of brainstorming is that there are no stupid ideas. The ideas given were reviewed after the brainstorming session is over.
During our brainstorming session, we came up with ideas regarding what sort of aggregate to use, how to make the mold, and how to maximize our floating capabilities.
After reviewing all of our potential ideas, we decided on a plan to use styrofoam as an aggregate to keep it lightweight, use a foam block and put concrete on it like icing on a cake, and to make it as big as possible to utilize Archimedes' principle.
The next step of the design process was to actually create our design. We needed to make the mold, make the aggregate, mix the concrete, pour it, and then allow it to cure slowly.
Here you can see us mixing the concrete mix and the aggregate. We used a volumetric 1-to-1 ratio of concrete mixed to styrofoam aggregate.
Here's a time lapse of our first attempt to mold the concrete around our styrofoam. Due to her size and heftiness, we named her Big Bertha, or just Bertha for short.
As you can see here, we put a cover over the concrete as it cured to prevent it from drying too quickly. Our research showed that drying too quickly could lead to cracking.
Bertha cracked while coming out of the mold, which leads us to the next step in our design cycle. Improvement. We planned to make our second canoe of more consistent thickness since we thought the last one was too thin around certain parts and probably too thick around others. In order to do this, we let our concrete set more before applying it to the mold.
In order to accommodate the thicker walls, we also had to make the mold smaller to still fit within the constraints.
Time lapse of our second attempt to mold concrete over the foam block. This time we used the ideas we came up with during our improvement part of the design process.
to improvements we made to our design, our new canoe not only came out of the mold just fine, but it even floated.
We did great during FEDD. Our canoe held 2.95 kilograms of marbles, or about 6.5 pounds. We came in first place, which was our goal we set for ourselves at the beginning of the project.
Although we were successful during FEDD, there are still things we would do differently if we were to do it again. Most of it comes down to using our time more effectively, so making more molds and more design iterations.
Our advice to future freshmen would be to start as early as possible so you can test multiple designs and take your time with everything. Planning is also important, and you should meet with your group at least once a week.